Hi, it's Andy, and today I'm bringing you my May wrap-up. The month of May was honestly my best reading month, I think, ever. As far as I'm aware, I read 7,187 pages. That is unbelievable. Like, I don't know how, but I absolutely smashed through so many books. So many books. And I'm so happy. 16 books. That was over 16 books. I don't know how I managed it, but I was on a roll. And I'm feeling motivated. Hopefully we can carry this on into June and further. Let's go through the books I read in the month of May. So first I had to read City of Glass. This is a holdover or a takeover or what's the word? I had to bring over from April's because I was supposed to read this in April. I did not get to it, or if I did get to it, I only got like a little bit into it. So City of Glass is book 3 in the Shadowhunter Chronicles Mortal Instruments. I'm rereading this entire series, and I mean, by series I don't mean Mortal Instruments, I mean the entire Shadowhunter world for the new book, The Last King Fairy, coming out in November, because I don't feel I remember enough to go into it and get the most out of it, because on my read of some of the newer books that have come out, so Better in Black, A Sea Change and Secrets of Blackthorn Hall, I feel like there's going to be a lot of strings being tied up, and so I felt like I needed this reread just to help me and get the most out of that book. So this is the third book of the Mortal Instruments, which is the first series, third book that I've read for it. I'm only just starting last month, or the month before this. So we're doing well. This follows Shadowhunters. Shadowhunters are Nephilim. They are part angel, part human technically, and they are the warriors of this world. Their mandate is to keep the world clear of demons, and keep everybody in line, everybody being the denizens of the downworld, which are vampires, werewolves, and the fae. And they're not always great at doing that, in the sense of corruption. So this follows Clary, or this series starts off following Clary, who is just a regular, mundane, a human. At least that's what she thinks, until one day she is thrust into the downworld, or into the shadow world, when she witnesses 3 teenagers murder another teenager. But it turns out he wasn't human, and suddenly she discovers there's a lot more going on than she realises. This second tied over from the previous month is Project Hail Mary. Now this, I don't count to I don't necessarily count this to the number on the TBR, not in the sense of yes, I am tracking it, but I'm not like, oh my god, I needed to get to that, and I struggled and I failed and blah blah blah. But I'd started the night before, on the 30th of April, I think I'd started the audiobook, and so it was a tide over from that. I was just lying in bed, I think I had a really bad migraine or something like that. I was lying in bed and didn't have anything to read on my Kindle. And so I decided to pick this up on audio, because do you know when you just really need a comfort read? And this has got a great audio. Project Hail Mary is everywhere, so if you've not read it, or you've not seen it, or you've not heard of it, I'm genuinely surprised. This follows, I was going to say Mark Watney, that is The Martian. I was talking to someone about The Martian earlier, and that's at the forefront of my head. What's this called? Ryland. This is about Ryland Grace, and he wakes up not quite where he thinks he's meant to be. He wakes up on a spaceship with 2 dead bodies, and no idea who he is, who they are, or why he's there, or really where he is. And he is... You go through it with him as he gains his memories back, and as he realises why he's there. You do really you get jumps and fits and starts and stuff of him realising what he's there for. Ryland is a scientist, and he is basically on a mission to another sun, or another star, to help save Earth. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you've not read it, then I really suggest you do so. Andy Weir just has a real way with these characters. Mark Watney, like I say, I love Mark Watney as a character. Ryland Grace is great as a character. It took me a little bit longer to warm up to Grace over Mark, but Mark is still my favourite. But this book is so special, and it seems intimidating, but it is such a good read, and you don't need to understand the science. It goes into the science. It really, really goes into the science. And if you're a scientist, it gives that extra bit to it, but you don't need to understand the science. He will explain it, but it's just a case of like, you need to just be like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. That's it. I promise. Next up is Training the Heart by Paisley Hope, and this is the second book in the Silver Pine series. This follows the oldest brother of the family, Wade, and he is kind of feeling the pressure. He has a ranch that he has had to take over recently because of his dad's death. He is trying to get out of a marriage that is just has been awful pretty much the entire time, but his ex-wife is just keeps trying to pull him back, and at the same time he has just hired a new horse trainer who he both is completely enamoured by and completely frustrated with. This is very reminiscent of To the Races by Elsie Silver, and it really does, except Ivy, who's the female main character, doesn't give the same attitude as Billy. Ivy is very soft. Ivy is very more like Violet. If you've read the Gold Rush Ranch series, Ivy is more like Violet. She's soft, she's quiet, she is a wallflower, she does what she's told. And then she decides, after escaping from her last relationship, which again, I want to hang these men by their balls, she decides she's going to put her foot down. She's going to stand up for herself. She's not going to let, especially a man, push her around, and especially not Wade Ashby. But unfortunately, she also has a little bit of a soft spot for him, so it's difficult to not necessarily stand up for yourself when you're crushing on somebody, but you do want to people please a little bit more. And part of this is them trying to find a horse to go to the Kentucky Derby, which is really funny because as I was reading this, the Kentucky Derby was happening. So that was really weird timing. I really enjoyed this. I'm loving this series. I can't wait to get to the next one. I'm already completely enamoured by this family. The storytelling is excellent. And yeah, I really, really enjoy this. My next read was Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen. This is a dystopian fantasy. I don't want to say romance because I don't know. I don't know. This whole romanticy, blah, 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 I don't know. It is definitely a fantasy. Next is Silver Cloak, and this follows Saffron, who, when she was younger, witnessed her family be murdered by the Blood Moons, who are a gang in this world, and she decides that she will become a Silver Cloak, which are like the elite police officers in this world, for lack of a better description. And she decides that she is going to be a Silver Cloak, and she's going to take down the Blood Moons and get revenge for her parents. Now, things go a bit awry on her test to become a Silver Cloak when it is kind of discovered that she has a power, or her power comes to light that she has not told anyone about because it's not really something you are supposed to have, and she doesn't want to be caught out with this. Because of that display, she is then sent undercover, deep undercover, into the Blood Moons to infiltrate them and take them down from the inside. And that is obviously extremely dangerous for her in so many ways. And there's so many things happening behind the scenes on all different sides that she just doesn't have a clue. The Blood Moons are not what she expects. The Silver Cloaks, not what you'd expect. And the world in this has so much, it could have so much rich world building. And I really, really hope that we get to know more about the gods, because this world is set, or this story, that the world that they're in is set in a before and an after. So before, when they had gods, there was a different level of powers and stuff like that. There was a different society, and there was a kind of break when they defeated, or something happened to kill the gods, and then the kings took over and they kind of put a line, and not many people know about the before. There are societies further away that they don't visit, or they're kind of not quite at war with, but it's not a very settled peace, who hang on to the old world. But this kingdom that she's in, they very much are about the new world. The kings want the command, they want the control, and they control a bit with an iron fist. This world, honestly, is so complex and so interesting, and I cannot wait to learn more about it. Next was my reread of the Sookie Stackhouse series. This is From Dead to Worse, which is book 8 in this series. And again, the series follows Sookie, who's a bartender, a waitress, and she lives in this little town called Bontemps, which is in Louisiana, north of New Orleans, and she is also a telepath. And when the vampires come out of the coffin, because synthetic blood has been made, True Blood is based on this, Sookie is drawn into that world because of her telepathic powers, and her world kind of grows exponentially from there, and you come along with Sookie to figure out all these different mysteries that are going on in and around Louisiana and the United States. Then I read Fury Bound by Sable Sorensen. This is the second book in the Wills of Ruin series. I think it's going to be a trilogy, but I'm not entirely sure. So this follows on from Direbound, and in Direbound we have our main character, whose name I can't remember because of course I can't, Merin, whose sister is taken, and she decides that the best way to get her sister back is to join the army and go to war, because the people that she thinks have taken her sister are the country that her country is at war with. And so she decides to join up to the army, to get to the front, to go over to the other side, not to be on the other side, but like to get across the line, so that she can get into their country and hunt down her sister. Which, see, when you think about it, like, that is very like fantasy book. Put my arm up there. That is very like fantasy thing, but I'm just like, how are you going to find one singular person in a war zone? Like, I've read other books like that, but at least they have like ideas. Like, I'm thinking of the Catherine Arden book. Is it Catherine Arden? The one where she goes to hunt for her brother during the First World War. At least she knows where he was stationed. Like, he's a soldier, they have kind of track of him. This is just a random girl that's been kidnapped and has been taken somewhere into another country. But in joining the army, she ends up being bound to a direwolf. Direwolves in this are the sort of bonded creatures for the elite warriors, the elite soldiers, and the direwolves choose the person that they want to bond with. And in Direbound we go through the bonding trials and find out more about this world, and then things, in my opinion, just take a tilt table. So this falls on from that, where everything is in chaos, and really we are scrabbling to chase our tails and figure out how to deal with what happened in the previous book. I really, really enjoyed this. I loved the direction this book took. I'm so excited for the next one, because as with any good book, what you're expecting is not necessarily what you get, and things are a lot more complex than they seem. Then I continued on with my reread of the Shadowhunter books with City of Fallen Angels, again by Cassandra Clare. This is book 4 in this series. So again, same synopsis as the previous one. Like I said, I'm reading this in preparation for the new book. This again just follows on from the previous book. This is actually, it follows on slightly differently, because the first part of this series was written as a trilogy, and I don't know if this was expected to come out, but this is a second sort of trilogy on its own. I don't think you absolutely cannot read one without the other, but there's kind of almost a reset of like, things have calmed down, things have started smoothing out, and then bam, we're hit with another thing. So it's kind of like a different arc almost. And yeah, this is where we really get into the nitty-gritty and the action with the Shadowhunters. I didn't read it till the end of the month, but I will just go over City of Lost Souls as well. That is book 5 in this series. Again, following on, this one is, in my opinion, like, you can tell this trilogy is building to something. Like, I remember City of Heavenly Fire being really, really right. Like, this is the big battle, this is the big crescendo, and this you can really feel the build up of what's happening. I much prefer the second half of the series to the first half, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, next is True Crime, a memoir by Patricia Cornwell. Patricia Cornwell is one of my favourite authors. She is a crime author, and her main series that I read is the Scarpetta series. And this follows Patricia Cornwell. She has worn a lot of hats and done a lot of things. She knows a lot of people. Like, the number of, like, it's almost like name dropping in this, like, so many people she's known over the course of her life, and her life has been like, it is stranger than fiction, not stranger than fiction, but like, if you wrote her life as a fiction, I wouldn't believe it. It's like pretty unbelievable, but these things actually happened to her. Like, this follows her from a child to the release of the Scarpetta TV show, and some of the things that happened to her as a child are just awful. Like, she's had so many awful things happen to her, and she has just been so resilient and so, like, personally, to be fair, I do think a lot of it is very, this reads with a lot of naivety, in my opinion, because naive is not the right word, but like, she sees the good in people, she sees the best in people, even people who've done really horrible things specifically to her, she still feels like there is a good in them. And to me, as a fairly cynical person, that comes across naive, because I think that people are inherently good. Like, I understand people are inherently good overall. Generally speaking, they're like, the population is not evil, but there are some people in my head that are irredeemable, but she will give somebody a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance, and that just could not be me. I admire her for it. I really, really do. And I kind of understand, based on a lot of things she went through, I can understand how that developed. And this is just such an interesting book about such an interesting person. There are trigger warnings up the wazoo, I'm not going to lie. And honestly, I just want to fight for her as a child. Like, her little self deserved so much better. Okay, next up is Broken Dove, another sequel. Oh, look at me and getting to my sequels as they come out. Now, this is the second book in the Silver Elite series. I don't know what the actual overall series is called. Silver Elite is a dystopian fantasy, and it is based in a world where it's fantasy sci-fi. That is one of those ones that it's on that line for me of like sci-fi and fantasy. It's set in a world that has changed almost unrecognisably after a nuclear war between large powers in our world, and there are certain people who were affected by some of the chemicals that were used in this war, and they've become what are called silverbloods. Now, they're called silverbloods because when they use their powers, their veins glow silver, and they basically took over and were the king, who was a silverblood, was not great, and so there was a resistance that took him down, and the primes, I think they're called, take over. And they're basically like normal people. They don't have abilities, and they hate the Silvers, and so they have spent the entire time basically committing genocide, trying to get rid of all of the Silvers. They put them into camps, they outright kill them, they sentence them to the most horrendous punishments you can think of. And we follow our main character, who is a Silver, but she has an ability. I don't know whether to call it an ability, but when she uses her abilities, her veins don't glow silver, so she can go under the radar as a Silver. But she and her uncle have been in hiding for most of her life. When they are discovered and her uncle is arrested, she goes to save him, and in her efforts to try and save him, she is captured and put into the sort of army training, and put into the training for like the Silver is Silver Block, and then Silver Elite is like the elite part of Silver Block. There's so much more to this. Like, this series is so interesting. I am conflicted because I really, really enjoyed these books, but there's discussion and discourse online about whether or not AI was used to write these books. Like, outright AI was used to write these books. Now, I've been watching a few people analyse them and talk about it, and people who know a lot more than me about AI feel like this was not written by AI. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I will hold my hand up. I don't know anything about it, but based on what I've been, based on, like I say, other people who have been looking into it, the ones I've seen at least are fairly confident that a person wrote this. However, as I was reading this, there was a line in here that was directly from Fourth Wing, which doesn't mean it was written by AI, and it's not even like it's an uncommon thing, but like, there's a whole thing about Xaden, and about him being Xaden well fucking aware Ryerson, because that's a line he says a lot. Like, she'll say something, he's like, yeah, well fucking aware, and he gets really arty about it, and then the male character in this said that, and I was like, okay. And between like the AI accusations and then the whole plagiarism argument with Red Queen and Powerless, which I watched a fantastic video about that, I will put it down below, and yeah, it just sort of like had my little like feelers up. So I'm trying to enjoy this, and like, I am reading these a lot more, like looking out for certain things, but I just don't know enough about AI to spot anything. Honestly, I couldn't spot it from a mile away when it's in text, I'm not gonna lie. But I thoroughly enjoyed the story. I'm really enjoying it. It is giving me that like old dystopian feeling, but there are so many bits of the story that are just so interesting to me, so new, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it. Next, I read Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur, and this is the last book in this series. I'm not entirely sure what the series is called, but this is a second chance romance between two girls who were friends when they were younger and had a moment, but then one of them gets back together with her boyfriend, and they kind of stop talking after that. Like, she had an on again off again boyfriend, and they broke up. He went away on holiday, this during high school, and these two ended up having a little fling, and then when he came back, she ended up back with him, and now she is divorced because she married him, and she has moved to Seattle, and these two end up having to live together because she is, I'll give you names. So Margot is the sort of Margot's a character you'll have met in the other books, and her friend Olivia is the one who has just gotten divorced, and she moves to Seattle, and Olivia is actually working on the wedding of the couple from the second book as a wedding planner, an event planner, and she then has to see Margot because obviously she's very involved in the wedding, being that she's one of the wedding party. But then disaster strikes when Olivia has to move into Margot's spare room because her flat is trashed. I think it's a leak. I can't remember. I think I read 2 books with leaks in the past couple of months, and I was like, that's really weird that it happened twice. And they start to sort of rekindle something. And yeah, there's... I feel like this needed a little bit more of a moment of reckoning. Like, things happened just a bit too easy for me. I've been sitting with this since I read it because... I don't know, there's just something that I feel like is missing from this series, and I don't know what it is, I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't hit me the way some other series do, which is unfortunate. But overall, I really liked it, and it's been a really interesting series to read. Next, again, with another sequel that is a new release, and that is All Hail Chaos by Sarah Rees Brennan, and this is the sequel to, here it is there, Long Live Evil. Where our main character, again, whose name I don't know, Ray. Ray is dying of cancer, and she is approached in her sickbed in the hospital by a strange woman who says that she can put her into the story of her favourite book, and that if she gets this flower, she will be healed and she will be able to live a normal life in this world. And she's like, yeah, sure, totally believe you, 100%, let's go. And so she goes through a door and appears in her favourite story. But unfortunately, she has appeared in the body of the villain. In the body of the villain that is about to be killed. And so she has to talk her way out of it. And in doing so, she starts a chain of events where she starts to change the story and things are going awry. She keeps trying to get the story back onto track. But the thing is, she doesn't really remember the story quite as well as she should. And things go so pear-shaped, so fast. And she keeps trying to fix it, and she keeps trying to fix it, and it just keeps getting worse. Honestly, this is absolutely like chaos. It is chaos. And this follows the events of the last book. Again, I'm not going to go into it. And again, she's trying to rein this horse back into where it's supposed to go. And it just keeps going. It's like the more she tries to hold on, like the tighter she tries to hold on and the more she tries to control it, the worse it gets. And I just want to tell her, just stop. You're making it worse. You're making it worse. So yeah, this was so good. I am loving this. Like, the sheer chaos. I wanted to stop reading this simply because things were going sideways. And I was like, I'm too stressed. This is stressing me out. This is really, like, I have genuine fear for characters in this. Like, nobody is safe. I genuinely, like, never know what she's going to do. And honestly, it stresses me out. Like, I wanted to put this down and read something where I knew exactly what was going to happen, everything was going to be happily ever after, and nobody was in danger, because this just stressed me out. So if you like stressful, really, really high stakes stories, like, this is for you. Next up, I needed to read a romance, and so I picked up Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in her Emerald Lake series, and this follows on from it happens chronologically after Wildcard, which is the Rose Hill series. So chronologically, it goes Gold Rush Ranch, Chestnut Springs. I just said it. Rose Hill, Emerald Lake. And this was a totally different direction for Elsie Silver. So this follows Emmett, who is a bull rider. We meet him in Chestnut Springs. He is kind of the nemesis of some of the characters in Chestnut Springs. Chestnut Springs. But he is having a little bit of a rough time of it because his family farm, his grandparents' farm, where he grew up and his siblings grew up and live, is in a bit of financial hardship, and he's been funneling as much of his sponsor money and winnings into that farm as he can, but he's just not been getting a break. He's not won. Like, he just wants a win. That's all he wants. He wants to win once before he retires, and Theo keeps beating him, so that is the problem. And so he takes up the offer to be on a bachelor style TV show where he is the bachelor and it is going to be filmed at his family's farm. So they're getting a payment every day for the rental of the farm, and he is also getting paid for taking part as like the bachelor. And then in comes Julia Silva, who's just been promoted to this show to be the site scout for it. And so she heads out to the farm, and lo and behold, when he opens the door, she is face to face with her brother's biggest rival. And I think we all know where this is going to go. But things are a little bit more complicated because she is on the crew. She is not one of the chosen bachelorettes, and the producer for this is one of the grossest men I've ever read about in my entire life. Like, actually disgusting. Very old school Hollywood, but vile. Absolutely vile. But this follows Julia and Emma as they kind of have to sneak around, as they try not to get attached, and they both try and remember that she is here to try and get her break, to break into Hollywood, to become a director like she always wanted to, like she talked about with her dad before he died. And Emma is trying to get money for his family farm so it doesn't shut down. They don't have to sell so they can carry on. So there's high stakes on both ends, but they're just inexplicably drawn together, and I absolutely love this. This was such a good... I think I preferred this to the Rose Hill series, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm so looking forward. I really hope, I don't know, but I genuinely hope that in her style, this follows his siblings, so like this series then goes on to have each of his siblings with their significant others. I think the next one, I think I know what the next one is going to be because there's hints, there's nice juicy hints in here. I think if you've read it, I think we're going to get an age gap romance next, if you know what I mean. An age gap romance with a certain professor, and that is going to be interesting, especially with what was dropped in lore-wise for those characters. I'm also very excited, as I keep saying, to see his brother's story, because his brother is a tattooed farrier, and I want to say a single dad. I don't know why. But I really am interested in his... I don't think any of them have kids, but in my head, for some reason, or it's something about his ex-wife, there's something in there that had my like little radar going. So I'm very excited for this series going forward. Next is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. I don't know how to pronounce her name, I'm not going to lie. I keep looking it up and then I keep forgetting, and it's terrible. Anyway, this is the second book. No, this is the first book in the series, the second book I'm reading this month. And I am rereading this because, my goodness, because the fourth book is coming out in August. And so, like with the Shadowhunter Chronicles, I want to reread this before the new one comes out, just so I can get that extra boost, because my memory is terrible and I love rereading books. I don't know why I can't say it. Rereading books is fun. This follows Evie Sage, and she is in a position where she is the sole breadwinner for her family. Her mum disappeared, her brother died, and her dad is too sick to work anymore because he caught the mystic illness. So Evie goes to a job fair and doesn't find anything, and doesn't really want to go back home and tell them that she has no job. She lost her previous job and she doesn't want to go back home and say, guys, I still don't have a job, we are still going to have to be struggling. And so as she's walking back through the woods, thinking about this on her way home, she quite literally trips over the villain, who is injured and being pursued by the king's valiant guards. And he sort of offers Evie a job as his assistant. And so she's like, do you know what? I'll take it. I need money. It'll be fine. And so we skip forward, and Evie is the villain's assistant, and their relationship is so funny. Like, he's trying to be this dark, scary villain, and she's just like, of course, sir. You're so scary. You're so big and scary. Yes, you are. Evie does not take anything seriously. I absolutely love her. She's a complete klutz. Like, she will drop something, she will trip over something, she will walk into walls. Like, I love every character in this. There's a frog called Kingsley, who talks by holding up signs. I think I've got a little Kingsley. I know it's down in the other shelf, even more able to see it. That is him there. So we have a cognizant? We have a frog who has a... He's sentient, that's the word. Sentient frog. A frog's sentient. He can't talk, but he can understand. Like, he can hold up signs and spell and stuff like that, for the most part. We have a villain who is big and scary and, like, will absolutely hang decapitated heads from his ceiling. but also make sure that his workers have better rights than most people have these days. We have an HR manager who hates Evie Sage and wants everything in order, and rules this place with an iron fist. Frankly, who is more of a villain than the villain, I'm not going to lie. Becky is a pill for the start of this. We have a healer who is a friend of the villains from a very young age, and she is a bubblegum pink princess, and we love her so much. This book, honestly, this cast, it's been described as like The Office, but in a fantasy world. And I've never seen The Office other than through clips, and even through that, I totally understand where people are coming from. This is fun. There are stakes in this, but it's that kind of like Legends and Lattes kind of stakes where bad things will happen, but you know it's going to be okay in the end, or I assume it's going to be okay in the end. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And yeah, I absolutely love this cast, all these characters and everything. I love it. And then with my reread of the Cassandra Clare books, I started my Infernal Devices reread. So there is still one more book in the Immortal Instruments that I need to read, but because of the way these were published and different established reading orders, the reading order I decided to go in was to read the first 5 books of the Immortal Instruments, switch to the Infernal Devices, and then finish that trilogy and go back to the Mortal Instruments and read City of Heavenly Fire. So that's what I'm doing. So this is book 1 at Clockwork Angel. This follows Tessa, who comes from New York to England because her brother has moved over here and has a job. Her aunt has died and she is alone, and so her brother sends a ticket to her to come over and he will look after her. And so she does that, but when she gets there, she's picked up by these 2 women who are not her brother, and they say they'll take her to her brother, but instead they take her to their home, and they kind of torture is not quite the right word, but it's not quite the wrong word either, because Tessa has abilities, and she has the ability to shapeshift into other people. And so they want to use that ability for their nefarious purposes. But then Tessa is rescued at the last minute by the Shadowhunters. This is set in Victorian England, so very, very different to Mortal Instruments, although there is a direct connection to the Mortal Instruments. They're all directly connected in some way, but this one has like a very direct connection to the Mortal Instruments, hence why I'm reading the way I'm reading. And Tessa is taken back to the Institute, and chaos ensues with, trying to find her brother, trying to keep her safe. There's something going on in the shadow world, and they're all destined to be tied up in it. And lastly, my last book of the month was Bruise and Bandages by Hayley Blackwood. I had this in an ARC and it came out a while ago, and I did not get to it before it came out, which is really, really unfortunate. I have been really good at getting to these before they come out, but if you know, last year my life was just in a total chaos spiral. Last year was quite literally the worst year of my life so far, and that's not being I'm not being dramatic. It was awful. It was horrendous. The year started with my gran dying, my health deteriorated, everything just continued to get worse throughout the year. It was awful. So things just got away from me, and I'm not punishing myself for it. But yes, this was something I've read the entire series. The first one is Love Letters and Thirst Tonics, and this follows the town of Moonvale and all the folk that live in Moonvale. We have creatures like vampires, we have witches, we have orcs, we have griffins. There's a Mothman called Dane, which I kind of love. And there is an angel who is their healer, and this story follows her and Mayor Tommins, who is a griffin. And things are happening in Moonvale. Magic has started to come back to the realm, and the king is not happy. Things have started happening throughout the books. You sort of accumulate all these different magical things that are happening. Before the books, there was no magic or very limited magic, and now magic is coming back with a vengeance. And yeah, things are happening. This is the conclusion to the series, and I think it wrapped up really, really well. I actually think we could have done more. Like, it could have been longer. That is my one complaint about this. It could have been longer. Give me another 100 pages. I'm happy to take another 100 pages of this book. I love Hayley Blackwood writing. I love her stories. They are so cozy, so good. There are stakes again, but you just get the feeling that with this gang, everything is going to be okay. And I'm so sad that it's over, but I'm so glad to finally have answers. There we go. Those are the 16 books I read in the month of May. Hopefully, like I say, I can carry on with this with this roll that I'm on and get a good amount read in the month of June as well, although again I'm not putting pressure on myself because that just leads to chaos. If you want to let me know what you were here and you don't want to write a comment, if you leave me some kind of angel emoji in the comments or wings in the comments, if they're there, just for the Clockwork Angel and also the angel in Brews and Bandages, whose name by the way is Valine. I should have said Valine is her name. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you want to, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.